Brett, thanks for joining us on IRB Total Rugby Radio. First of all, you've been in the job for a couple of months now. How have you settled in?
It doesn't feel like I've been settling. I've just been on a whirlwind since I started. The first week I was in the job, I was in Japan on World Cup duty for 2019. I've been dealing with the Moscow Sevens. We had meetings on Rugby World Cup. I've met a lot of the unions. I've travelled to some of the unions and met with different people and so on. So it's been quite a whirl. It's only been 2 months now, I think, but it feels like 2 years already. But it's been great fun and interesting, stimulating and very exciting, because on most fronts things look extremely positive for the sport. I seem to have joined at a very exciting time for the sport, so I'm very pleased.
Just tell us a little bit about yourself, because you're a rugby man. You've played a bit yourself. Just give the listeners a little bit of background. What position were you and who did you play for?
I was quite lucky because I managed to play till I was about 30, but I was an Australian under-21 representative and a Wallaby trialist, and actually left Australia when I was 21 for about 6 months to play in France to get fit for a season in Australia. And I stayed in France for the next 9 seasons or so. I played in Paris with a team called the Racing Club, which is called Racing Metro now, who was a great club. And in those years, I was lucky enough to see us go from about the 30th ranked club in the country to the number 1 club in the country, where we were finalists in 87 and won the championship in 90. So a really good fun team with they were good fun years. So
Champagne at half time?
Well, in the final in 1990, yes, there was champagne served, and they were down at that point. The Racing Club, we were down, and the waiter came on with the champagne at half time instead of oranges or whatever people were doing at half time in those days. And each player took a glass and drank it, and they went on and won we went on and won the game. So really, really amazing spirit in that club.
Yeah, mostly, was it Denis Charvet or Frank Manel, people like that?
Yeah, all of those people. Denis Charvet, Jean-Baptiste Lafont, Jean-Pierre Rive played for the club then, and Papa Rambourg and Laurent Caban. Bow ties in the 87 final and the 90 final. And that bow tie has gone on to become a brand called Eden Park. And it's a lot of the players who are shareholders in that operation. So quite a little bit of a cult phenomenon at the time. It was good fun.
Well, that was then. As you've already mentioned, you've joined the IRB at an exciting time. Argentina just taking part in the Rugby Championship and Rugby World Cup qualifying taking place. First of all, Brett, Argentina, what did you make of them? A great move forward for the sport, I guess.
Yeah, it's been brilliant to have Argentina in that competition. I mean, that's a tough competition, the Tri-Nations, to add a team to it and become the championship. And yeah, there would have been some worry, I'm sure, even by the Argentinians themselves as how competitive they could be in that competition. They were really terrifically competitive. Their games were all tight, except perhaps against the All Blacks. But then again, that was the same for everyone. That wasn't an Argentinian phenomenon. So I think they're pleased, we're pleased. I'm sure Sansa are very pleased about how the championship's launched in its first year. It's been a wonderful tournament.
Shortly, we've got the World Cup draw 2015 coming up in London, and also we've had the shortlist of the stadiums. Exciting moments there too.
Yeah, it really is. On the back of the Olympic time, there does seem to be quite a focus on England now for the rugby, and there's been a lot of excitement around the stadiums. Yeah, a little bit of controversy here and there. Basically, I think very positive that a fantastic group of stadiums have been selected or shortlisted. There's no shortage of stadiums that want to be in the World Cup, and communities around those stadiums that want to get involved in a really positive way. So now we head towards the pool draws. So yeah, it's all building really nicely now.
The HSBC Sevens World Series has just kicked off in Brisbane. Great buzz around it as always. How pleased are you with how that series is going, and also the general feeling around Sevens with Olympic inclusion?
There's a lot of buzz in the Sevens. In fact, I've just come back from Switzerland, where we had meetings with the organising committee in Rio to work out how rugby would be staged at those Olympics in terms of selection of stadiums and viewing times and how long the program would go for. So when you start talking about those things, you get quite excited. It's 4 years away, but it's going to go very quickly. And in the meantime, the World Series becomes from 2014-15, the qualifying rounds of the Olympic Games themselves. And of course, we've got the World Cup in Russia, the Rugby Sevens World Cup in Russia next year. We're in Moscow next week, making sure that all the I's are dotted on that and it's well organised, and we're expecting that to be an amazing Sevens in a non-traditional rugby market. That's actually taking place in the Olympic Stadium, the 1980 Olympic Stadium, which holds about 50-odd thousand people. So ambitious targets for that. But again, it's a bold move, and it's exciting.
And exciting news in terms of the women's game as well. A new women's Sevens series starting alongside the men's.
7 series starting in 4 different destinations. Yeah, it's a great time. We're getting huge growth in many of the markets in women's rugby, and Sevens is driving a lot of that growth for women. So yeah, very exciting for them.
Your plans for the future? I mean, where's rugby going?
Well, the main thing is we as the IRB have to ensure that it is the most attractive sport possible for our stakeholders and future stakeholders. So we have to, I think, as a former marketing communications person, really work out what we want the game to stand for in the minds of our target audience. And we're on a conquest strategy. Of course, we want to look after our current fans brilliantly. They're the base of what we do. But we do want to go after broad markets. We want more people in more countries playing the sport. And we have 2 products under the brand Rugby, which is 15s and 7s, and both hugely important, both fortunately in a growth phase. The Rugby World Cup property goes from strength to strength. We get huge growth with each new World Cup, and that really causes us to be able to fund the development of the game very strongly. Literally all of the money that surpluses we earn from those World Cups get channeled back into the development of the game globally. So the growth of the game and ensuring that it's attractive and understood and played in a broad spectrum of countries is really the main agenda. And with our 2 products, our main products from the IB, the World Cup, and then Sevens now being an Olympic sport, we're well placed to continue that growth that we're seeing.
Plenty of work to do. Thanks for finding this time to speak to Total Rugby.
Great pleasure. Thank you for having me.